Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Howl's Histories, and I hope you're all keeping safe in self-isolation. And today's talk is going to be on the Battle of the Somme, 1916. Now, first of all, let's get some background. Now, the war had begun in 1914 with the Germans launching their much vaunted Schlieffen Plan, a rapid assault by Germany into Belgium and then hooking through into France with the hope that they would encircle the French capital, Paris, knock France out of the war quickly, and then allow themselves to turn on the Russians, who they believed would take perhaps 12 weeks to mobilise their army. But to their surprise and horror, the Russian army had been able to mobilise far quicker than they had expected. The Belgians, to their surprise, fought well. The British Expeditionary Force provided key assistance to the French army, and the First World War had become locked by the winter of 1914 into at least on the Western Front, into stalemate, into trench warfare. Now, 1915 saw the conquest of Serbia by Austria-Hungary, and fighting along the Western and Eastern fronts, Italy joined the war on the side of Britain, France, and Russia. Now, France, Britain, Russia, and Italy in 1915 all launched separate attacks on Germany and her allies. They didn't really cooperate. They were launching their attacks at different times, whenever best suited them, and each of these offensives ultimately ended in failure. And Germany had been able to use their railway network to transfer troops from front to front to defeat each of these attacks in turn. And so at the Chantilly Conference on the 6th of December 1915, it was agreed that in 1916, all of the Allies would attack at the same time, holding down and then breaking the German army. The Italians would attack the Austrians in the Alps. The French would take the lead on the Western Front, as they had by far the larger army in the West, but they'd be supported by the BEF, while the Russians would attack in the East. And that no matter how badly each individual offensive was going, it was vital that every nation carry on their offensive to pin down German reserves until eventually Germany would be exhausted, and on one of the fronts somewhere they would break. And so let us look at the armies in the West. So why would the French take the lead in the West? Well, they had a large peacetime conscript army. It was well trained and it was well equipped, although it had received one hell of a blooding in 1914 and 15. Now, the British Army at the start of the war had been small. It had fought very well at Ypres, at Neuve-Chapelle, and Loos, but the highly trained volunteer army, what they called the Old Contemptibles, because the Kaiser had said it was a contemptibly small little army, and if it arrived, he'd just send the police around to arrest them all. But those Old Contemptibles had fought incredibly well, probably the best army we have ever sent away from these shores, man for man, but they had been all but wiped out. Now, they've been replaced by what the British call their new army, the PALS battalions, the ones who answer the call of your country needs you. Now, they're very keen, but they're badly trained and they're ill-equipped. They are desperately short of officers. The army had grown from 200,000 men to 2.5 million men. Men used to command in thousands now commanded millions. Men used to command in hundreds were now commanding thousands. And let's face it, we have all worked for people who are superb lower leaders, but just can't take the step up. And there are problems with trying to find men who can command such large numbers. Now, Kitchener, the Secretary of State for War, his plan had been for the British to build up and train a large army, while the French, the Germans and the Russians all exhausted each other. Now, great plan for the British. French less keen on this plan, it has to be said. Now, a British attack would then, once the other nations have exhausted each other, a British attack would then win the war, and Britain could reshape Europe. Now, this army is not yet ready. The PALs are still training. They're not yet ready to take this major offensive. It's very new army. Few of the PALs have actually seen a shot fired in anger. Now, two PALs divisions had fought at Loos in September 1915, but they'd collapsed in disorder in the fighting. The pre-war BEF, these old contemptibles, they could fire 20 aimed shots a minute. Now, before the Somme, however, the shooting of the PALs, they had a shooting competition for all the PALs regiments, and the winner had only managed 12. And that's the winner, whereas the ordinary old contemptible soldier can manage 20. And so, obviously, the PALs battalions, for all their enthusiasm, for all their keenness, simply lack the same quality. Now, overall, the Allied plan is sound. So why are the British and French going to attack on the Somme? And remember, the plan is that the French will lead the assault on the Somme. Now, the Somme is chosen because it's at the point where the two armies join up. You have the French army on the right wing and the British army on the left wing. And so there's also a strong suspicion that the French chose this point for the offensive to make sure that the British actually did attack. The French had got rather fed up of the British plan of fighting to the last Frenchman. Now, General Haig doesn't want to attack at the Somme at all. He thinks it's a terrible place for an offensive. He wants to attack at Ypres, where a small advance would allow the British to start to capture the Channel ports, a key strategic objective. Behind the Somme front lines, there's not much. It's rolling farmland. But the point is not to capture land. I mean, the farmland of the Somme. I mean, it's lovely farmland for any of you who live there, but militarily it's all but worthless. But the idea is to destroy German divisions, and Haig is overruled and told that the place is indeed going to be the Somme. However, although the British and French plan to launch this major attack on the Somme, as it happens, the Germans seize the initiative, and they attack first.